I mean, obviously, you've ticked all my boxes for a conversation and the starting point for a conversation. Um, and I'm just trying to work out where to begin. I mean, we've got the institutional racism, the institutional misogyny, and I definitely want to touch on those things. And then I'd like to also start on this idea, as you so eloquently put it, we can't punish people for failings in society or failings in the context of their lives. And that's really interesting for me because I know that that was probably going to provoke a few people. Bad people need to be punished. And we love this word punishment in our society. And that brings me in two places that I'd love to just open up with you. And the first one is, what do we mean by punishment? Is punishment taking someone's liberty away? Is that the punishment that we say society needs to feel safe? And with you around and the things that you've done, regardless of the context, people don't feel safe. So we are going to remove you from society. Um, and that's the punishment. Or is the punishment, we're removing you from society, we're going to dehumanize you, take away your entire identity, and crush you as a person?
Hmm.
So that's sort of my first question, which is obviously very loaded from work I've done in prisons. And then the second part of that is when we talk about we can't punish people for the failings of society, failings of government, failings of our statutory systems, which I wholeheartedly agree with. But I think what we have to open up is then how do we address the injury, loss, or harm and hold accountability and responsibility when people do things that create injury, loss, or harm? And then kind of in brackets, and let's not forget there are lots of people creating injury, loss, or harm that are nowhere near the criminal justice system.
Hmm.
So that was a bit of an avalanche, but I'd love you to pick the bones out of that.
Yeah. So with regards to your first question, like what punishment is, you said, is it sort of taking someone's liberties away? Um, and I think it's almost that is separate from, well, this person is a danger to our society and we can't have them around. Because that argument, we can't have them around, you can put them elsewhere and you can re rehabilitate them. You don't actually have to take away all of someone's rights to get them out of society. As we know in Scandinavia, they do it really well. They're not being completely dehumanized, yet they're still being excluded from society for a period of time. So I think we can achieve safety for the public and make people feel better that they're not just like living with murderers on their same street. We can achieve that without taking away someone's human rights. Um, but punishment more broadly, I'd say it's really for the victims or the victims' families, because I understand, I mean, when I speak to people about this who aren't really on the same page as me, they often say, well, what if it was your family member who was murdered? Wouldn't you want to see that murderer, killed or imprisoned? And I completely understand the sentiment of that. Of course, like I want that, but I think as a system, we have to go further back. Like, what is punishment achieving? And there have been so many studies to show that the worst people, um, like the worse people are treated in prison, the worse they are when they're out of prison. Um, so it's not actually working to punish people, that it's not rehabilitating them, it's not stopping crime, it's actually furthering crime. So I guess it's how high do we put on the pedestal like the sort of satisfaction victims get from punishment? Should that be such a high priority if it's actually more damaging in the long run? I don't know if that answers your question
Yeah,
completely.
it's lovely. I mean, and you brought in all importantly victims, families, um, and interestingly enough, in all restorative work, and when you look for a restorative lens, victims pay attention to three questions. And the first question is, why did this happen? Or why me? Why? Why has this taken place? And the second question is, why now? why at this particular moment? And the third question, which comes when people have got over the shock and the anger and the upset, is how do we stop this happening to anyone else?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I think we deprive people of that.